Hi, my name is Kiliii Yuan. I'm a Han Chinese and native Siberian. I was born here in the United States. I've been living here most of my life, but I spent the majority of my life chasing after my culture and my culture's traditions. I spent a long time trying really hard to learn how to reconnect with the land and how indigenous peoples understand nature as a way of life. I live in Seattle, Washington, one of the wildest places in the lower 48 of America. I love it here. The connection here from Seattle is that everything is about the ocean and about the sea. And even though this is compared to true wilderness up in the far north, this is pretty tame, but it's a great junction between people and nature. I got started building kayaks when I just started turning an adult. As a kid, my grandmother gave me a lot of stories, and those stories really planted a seed that was pretty magical. I heard stories of men that would turn into orcas, and stories of fish that was hunted from a canoe kayak, which was bigger than the boat. And I remember those things, they really stuck with me as a kid because they were so magical. My culture builds what were the precursors to kayaks, the origination of the kayak. We live below the tree line, so actually there was enough wood to build kayaks that are actually totally wood. But just a little bit farther north from where my family is from, people started to build boats that were framed only with driftwood and covered with the skins of seals and other mammals. And that really fascinated me. The first time I ran across that type of construction, I saw it and realized that it would be really lightweight and it would be really quick to construct. And they're just beautiful. Kayak is built with two major steps. You construct a frame, and then you wrap that frame in a skin. The skins we use today are made out of nylon instead of seal skin, but the basic concept is the same. And the frames are basically, they're carved out of timber. There's two longitudinal pieces, two large structural members, and then they get ribbed over. So the ribs are steam bent and then placed inside of the frame, and that forms the shape of the hull. After the boat is all basically tied together, so the boats are made and they're fastened together without any metal, without modern fasteners, and they're essentially lashed together, they're tied together, which makes the boat frame much stronger than it would be if it used metallic fasteners. The reason for that is because each joint moves, each joint is living, and it has a little bit of flex to it. So in aggregate, in total, when you take the entire boat, it's very strong. So once you've made the frame and built the frame, the last member of it, which makes it strong, is the skin. So by taking the skin and wrapping it around the kayak, then we stitch the top of it. And then finally we create a ring, which is called the cockpit coaming, that goes around the boat. And then we stitch that onto the skin as well. And so slowly over time, as I build each boat, ribs get lengthened and shortened, the boat gets slightly wider or longer, and I take them out in different conditions. And that's the hardest part, is testing it. Because on a nice flat day where the sea is calm, it doesn't tell you very much. But when you go out and the wind is whipping 30 miles an hour and the waves are really harsh, that's when a boat needs to be good. And so I think about keeping my life or the life of somebody else inside this boat when you weren't expecting to be out at sea all day long, and then all of a sudden you're caught in a storm. That's what the boat's hull is for, is to keep you safe. Seawolf Kayak originally started as a survival school, as a school teaching traditional indigenous ways, how to live close to the land. And over time, as I became more coastally centric, I started teaching a lot of the things that my ancestors did specifically. And because I live in the Pacific Northwest, everything here is about the ocean, everything is about the sea.
As you can imagine my soul, composing a film score for the dawn.
My relationship with the natural world is probably the most important thing in my life. I think that nature to me is a big part of who I am and in my ancestry, but also part of how I live every day. It's part of everything I think about. It informs the way that I do my work, and it informs the way that I look at the world and see things. And I see all the invisible threads that connect back to the land and back to nature. And for me, that relationship between people and human beings is so important. The land gives us everything. It gives us all the things that we need to survive as human beings. And it's a beautiful, wonderful place. The outdoors is so important. And whenever I think of all the beautiful, magical moments that I ever have in my life, they all have to do with being outdoors, with being part of the natural world. I think that without wilderness, we lose a lot of the magic of what it means to be human. And I think we lose the mythology and the stories. And it's nice to have wilderness because it gives us a place to think about that's unexplored. It's a place where animals and plants and the natural world can live without humans. I think of wilderness as a place where nature exists and the sole point of it is not just for humans.